Okay, Travis Wayne Goodsell. I'm back from my run, so I can now discuss the late breaking news at 10 o'clock last night about the LDS Church being caught with $100 billion in tithing money. There's been a number of lawsuits. We'll go over each one and explain why none of them are going to be successful in taking down the church. Even this late-breaking last night's news, it's my case that will destroy the church, and I'll explain in a minute. Okay, first, last night's. The claim is that the church was taking $100 billion from tithing donations and funneling it through this Ensign Peak investment corporation, of whom they were then increasing that $1 billion per year, so that the guy was claiming that it's around $100 billion estimated that the Ensign Peak had obtained since 1997, because let's see, 10, 20, 22 years, so that's $22 billion. So Ensign Peak actually did fairly well if he's estimating $100 billion from the $22 billion of the tithing investment. He claims, though, that it needs to be reported as a charity fraud to the IRS. He's under the impression that tithing is supposed to go for charity work. No. That's where he's going to lose out on his 20% finder's fee for turning in and getting a conviction of a whistleblower complaint to the IRS. Because the church is just going to come out and claim, hey, we notify the members of the church this time of year in the tithing settlement, where bishops are required to read what tithing goes for and what other offerings go for. And tithing does not go for charity. It only goes towards buildings, publications of the Book of Mormon, and other business affairs. And so the church is fully within their rights to take the tithing money and invest it to make more money from. As a non-profit, that's perfectly acceptable. If they're not reporting that increase, then yes, the guy does have a claim that they're fraudulently reporting their actual assets to the IRS, unless they don't have to. Trump, in Hatch's 2017 for 2018 tax bill, made it so that people who receive money through LLC corporations, for example, don't have to report to the IRS where they got their money from, or even how much money they got. And so, yes, under Trump, he's allowing for criminal behavior to thrive. And so I'm expecting that the IRS will be immediately shut down by the church, as they claim that no, tithing is not for charity. And they'll even cite Nelson, who announced in conference in October that they have this LDS Charities that has spent $2 billion in charity worldwide. And so they can then say, hey, we're giving $2 billion in charity through our charity organization. And I think that charity organization also started back in 97. I'd have to check again on that. May have been back, no, it wasn't the 70s. That's something else, I think. But yeah, that lawsuit's not going to go anywhere. As much as that guy is desperate for money, he clearly does not understand the church. So apparently this Ensign peak investments hire people who are not members of the church, so that this guy is whistleblowing, not knowing what tithing is spent for in the church. And I'll come to that, because tithing is going to get the church in trouble, but not for IRS fraud. Then you have Kay Burningham. Kay Burningham had hit the social media and the internet as a big deal because of her claims that the church's lies about the church's history is resulting in damage done to members of the church with the misinformation and disinformation. Now, she's correct on this. Unfortunately, her claims require that she know the actual history in order to win the lawsuit, and there is where she's going to fail. She's incorrect because she's trusting on authors who are not going to primary source information, and that's going to get her in big trouble for her client. And she does involve RICO, but it's the educational part of RICO, with the miseducation of the Mormons through an inaccurate history. And so she's not going to win, even though it's going to take years to process as a class action lawsuit. I'm no longer a part of that because I got my own lawsuit, which I'll explain how mine's going to be the nail in the coffin for the church. Then you have other lawsuits for sexual abuse. Bishops, primary presidents, and other teachers in the church have been guilty of sex crimes, even pedophilia. So that, as heartbreaking as it is, the church takes all those cases, goes through mediation and arbitration, or whatever it's technically called in the legal world, and the victims are forced to sign a non-disclosure agreement as they get a settlement payment as defined by the judge in those cases. And so, yeah, they may get a few thousand, maybe, we don't know, because they've signed a non-disclosure agreement, and so they're silenced. Victims by the church are silenced. So that's a sad thing, but again, those don't go anywhere because there's hundreds of them, and they're all not known to us because they're silenced. And so that's unsuccessful at bringing down the church. And so then you get to my case. I'm not aware of any others. There's Paul Adams, who's 444 age, on his YouTube channel. I believe he was trying to do a lawsuit through the feds, and unfortunately that's not going to go anywhere. The feds protect the church, as I've found out. So Paul's also going to fail. So then there's mine. I initially started it way back on the 30th September. If you watch Pacer or the docket, Justia docket or whatever it's called, and that was designed to allow me some breathing room. In my residence here, I'm being assaulted as a consequence of what happened to me in 2008. And I needed breathing room to work on an actual case. And the judge eventually gave it to me, and so yes, on November 25th I filed the modified version of the lawsuit. So initially it was claimed to be a whistleblower complaint, which you can't do through the courts. You have to go through the police or attorney general's office or organization like that. And the only problem is in Utah, it's run by the church, and that's where my lawsuit comes in, and I'm able to show it with what happened to me in 2008 and even before that. By moving to Utah, they immediately blacklisted me without my knowledge, and that's why I went through what I did. But in 2008, okay, is this really the leadership, or is this the local people, the Mormons, who are doing this to me? And sure enough, it was the leadership. But I had to find out. You know, all science, you have to test your theory in order to confirm if it's correct or not. And if you can't replicate it, you got to dump the theory. That's what nobody's doing. There are so many theories that are still being perpetuated because they just refuse to do so. You know, the evolutionary theory. You know, evolution, yes. Evolutionary theory that we came from monkeys. And chimpanzees, the closest relative, they claim. Yeah, no. Because, have you ever heard of the missing link? That's their claim, is that there would be a common ancestor between chimpanzees and man if they can only find it. You gotta find it. Until then, you can't claim it. And unfortunately, they continue to claim it as everybody perpetuates it as a matter of fact. We came from chimps because we have a theory. You know, the theory is fine, but if you can't replicate it, you gotta dump it. And unfortunately, you have to dump a theory if you're going to put in a, well, if it were to exist, this is what it would be. Scripture does that as well with the Torah, the documentary hypothesis, which I have done on my playlist for the Torah lessons. I explain that. The documentary hypothesis is wrong because it's based upon missing information. You can't have missing information. You've got to have physically observable information to make theories with, so that you can replicate it and test to confirm. And so, yeah, science has really gone off the deep end in their theory making, and it's causing lots of problems. Wow, I'm not going to get into that. So, yes, my case is about the church being a criminal organization. So RICO, but also it involves the church in league with Russia against America. And so treason, war crimes, and all of it plays into what they've done to me, so that I can then justify treason, war crimes, and the RICO. Plus, I also threw in bigamy. It's not polygamy anymore, it's now bigamy. And so those are the distinctive features. With the RICO and tithing, I established how the church is demanding Mormons pay tithing in order to participate in the rituals of the religion. That's a no-no. All other religions make it a donation. The church claims tithing is a donation, and yet it's a requirement And Nelson got up in conference and listed off tithing as a requirement in order to go through the temple. And oops, the CEO just got himself busted, just like he did with the $2 billion announcement. Because now I can show that they're a protectionist racket. The tithing is considered protection money, and Mormons even call it fire insurance, protection money. And so it's a racket that's involved with criminal organizations. And then, of course, I also include the other donations and the members who are free lay members. They volunteer, and as a result, Mormons are the ones who are setting the church up with pyramid scheme operations as well. And a pyramid scheme is where the people at the top, the leadership, receive the money from new recruits. The missionary program is that recruiting process. We Mormons, we grow up, we either pay for it ourselves or our parents pay for our mission, and we then recruit other people into the church who then go through that same process of recruitment. It's a cyclical recruitment. And eventually, once the church has converted everybody throughout the world, no more recruitment money comes in through new members, other than those who get born and are of 8 years old. But then that would require the church, again, this is another thing that I mentioned, is that the church forced me to pay tithing from 8 years old, as my parents gave me a little money box for the church specifically. It had savings, it had spending, and tithing. And I was taught to put 10% into tithing, and I was like a little kid, 8 years old is when it started. And so my parents started giving me allowance so that I would put 10% into tithing. And then it didn't quite register with me. It was like, why am I doing this? This is stupid. I don't get the benefit from this. And I had believed all my growing up life that it was going to the poor, until recently, several years back, when the church started talking about in the tithing settlement that tithing does not go for the poor. So that's the basics of my case. In regards to treason and war crimes, working with Russia, I was able to point out the treason part goes all the way back to the founding of America, and show that where K went wrong is with the actual history of the church. And the actual history reveals an even more darker, sinister outlook as to the current church today and how it got here, as Brigham Young ordered the murder of Joseph Smith. That's how dark it is. And yeah, William Morgan, if you know of my other works and stuff, the church was directly involved with the William Morgan incident, because Joseph Smith Sr. was the master mason in that district where William Morgan was jailed. And as a master mason, he's in charge of everything in his district. That's the power of a master mason, even though it's only a third ranking. And so, yeah, Joseph Smith Sr. knew about William Morgan. And it's clear from the Book of Mormon that they also knew about William Morgan, as they encoded it, but Martin Harris found out about it and didn't like it and destroyed the 116 pages. And so you have the first scriptures in the Doctrine and Covenants as if it's the Lord speaking to Joseph, No, it's Joseph Smith Sr. speaking to Joseph. And so that was an eye-opener when I did that research. Yeah, as much as it's shocking to go, oh yeah, we finally got the church, woo! No, look for mine. First was supposed to reply yesterday after being on recess for 2 weeks to think it over. Instead, she still didn't reply. So I'll give her until Thursday. Thursday I'll probably go in with my motion to find out what's going on. Maybe Wednesday I'll call. It'll depend on when the vote takes place on Wednesday. Hopefully in the morning so that I can call in the afternoon. If it's in the afternoon, maybe I'll call in the morning. So we'll see. Yeah, everything's hitting the fan. And so pay attention. I warned Mormons. This is why I was warning Mormons. Is so that when it all hits the fan, you guys aren't going to go into a state of shock. Because I know you guys, you have blinded yourself to the church so deeply that once it comes out that the church is actually a criminal organization, you're just going to go numb. You just shock. And I'm trying to help you through this process, and you're not listening. And so I'm sorry, I'm not going to have any empathy or sympathy when you guys go into shock. I've warned you over and over again for these 3 years now, almost 4. So sorry, I warned you. The church is bad. I was born and raised in the church, going on 50 years. I know what I'm talking about. I've been in situations to know information. And so when I was arrested in 2008, found out it was the church involved, I knew exactly what to do when I got out. And I'm out. After 6 years, I got out. And everything started hitting the fan. And as an astronomer, I don't understand it. How did they do that? I can't figure it out, but it happens. And I'm 100% correct every time. And just thought I'd update you guys on what's going on, and just letting you know that when my case finally gets out there, that's going to be the one to watch. So